Yeah. Dave's the only one missing, so we have
sent
a
Boo.
quorum, and I'll call the meeting to order. Let's see, minutes of the last meeting, those got sent around. There were a couple corrections that I saw that got sent in and were updated. Any other comments or discussion on the minutes of the last meeting?
Move to approve as updated.
Do I hear a
Speak of the
second?
devil.
Do we hear
I
a
was just
second?
commenting
Second.
that we haven't seen you lately, so.
Yeah, haven't had good items on the agenda.
He's been busy with other committees.
So there's a motion to accept and a second, all in favor? Aye. Unanimous approval of the minutes as updated. Treasurer's report,
As you know, we have 3 accounts. 2 of them are exactly the same. The rider is still $4,191.32, and the expense account is still $248.34. So those are the same. But the Hubbardston Preservation Trust was $14,704, and now it is $14,704, and now it is $13,248.81. There was a little bit of activity there. There was a deposit, and there was also an expenditure. So the expenditure was $3,500 from Parks for white turfing. That happened August 18.
for what?
White turfing.
No one knows.
3,500 for white turkey.
Oh, there's more.
Maybe in the playground?
Well, I was gonna call her, but I thought, no, somebody will know what that is. And I looked it up, and it the closest I could get is white paint for marking things.
Oh, for like baseball fields.
yeah,
soccer
but it's
fields.
It's a
$7,000.
lot of paint.
Yeah.
3,000, and then they took 3,500 out of from the Hubbardston Trust and 3,000 out of the Parks account. They have some Parks account. I don't know how it's funded or what it is. So it was a total of $7,500 for white turf.
Well, maybe they needed to pay someone to apply it also.
That's what I was wondering.
Still.
Yeah, but still shouldn't cost that.
It just, I mean, it's not our business exactly, but it's just, I was just curious. I've never heard of it. Also, what was the credit? That happened on August 31st. It was in the amount of, let's see, $2,044.50, and that I believe was Lane. I believe that was hay money. I asked Kelly twice. Once it was during the hurricane. I don't know if she got affected by that, but she never got back to me. But it looks like about the right amount and the right time.
Yeah.
But I still would like to verify and say, well, this is Lane, right? I don't want to guess. So
Yeah,
that's 2,000. That's it for
but
this
just
year.
relative to the expenditure there, who has total control of that? Just Parks and Rec all by themselves?
Yep.
Okay.
And just for context, it's called the Hubbardston Community Park Fund, and it had $7,400 in it. They took out the 3, and now there's $4,407 left. So I guess the strategy was to take some from each account, and it ended up being $7,500. So, which to me is a lot of money for something. So I want to know what white turfing is. Mike must know. Mike Stoll, do you know what white turfing is?
No, I do not, and you said you looked it up, and so I stopped trying to look it up.
Well,
We tried to.
yeah, it's just, it brings you to all kinds of other things that.
You're getting reception here?
I cannot verify that, but
Anyway, so the bottom line is there's still $13,248 available in Hubbardston Preservation Trust. But it's good to know that you need to really check on it month to month, or you get surprised. So,
Okay. Yeah, just a little bit, because all of that money comes from hay money, right?
yeah.
What's the correlation between, cause the hay money is related to open space and stuff. So how does it get from that kind of category to being all in Parks and Rec?
I think I remember reading at one point, a couple of years ago, cause I had the same question, that it's actually required by the state for the Hubbardston preservation, for a town's preservation fund. Don't know.
Okay. All right, let's see, old business. Anybody know if there's any updates on Destiny's Garden?
I do. I had an exchange with Katie. Where did it go? Hi Rick, unfortunately tonight I have a Girl Scout leader meeting and unfortunately had to miss last month's meeting due to a select board meeting, so I probably won't make it tonight. Hunter has been plugging away on his Eagle project. 3 out of 4 trails are marked and signs are just about ready to be installed. And I'll have a comment on that in a minute. Destiny has marked her trails as well and planted the plants she had. She's gonna finish up making her art pieces and signage over the winter and hopefully will be ready to install them in the spring. She'll also know if she needs more plants at that point depending on if things didn't make it over the winter. So that was from Katie. Susan and I had a hack today, this afternoon, and we checked out Canesto Brook, where else did we go? Oh, Old Cross, Gates Hill, and
A little bit of.
Mill Pond, a little bit of Mill Pond, just to see. So there are nice red markings on Canesto Brook. There's nice, I think, yellow. They're not green, they're kind of a yellowish green, I think, just because of the trees, all the way up across both sides of the trees. Red on the Canesto Brook, both sides of the trees, they look good. They're a good 6-7 feet up, and the nice template that I think you provided. So they look good. The Gates Hill and Mill Pond, I believe the trail markers there are the old ones. I've never paid that much attention to the trail markings.
No, Mill Pond isn't on his list, and he hasn't
Oh,
done,
it isn't.
he hasn't done Gates Hill
Oh,
yet.
hasn't done Gates. So,
I made a pass through Gates Hill,
oh, did you? Okay.
and I painted, I masked out
The old,
big dinner plate
Yeah.
markers
okay.
with neutral paint, and they'll come over it and paint it in yellow
Okay.
when they finish.
So the 3 out of 4 trails would be Old Cross, Canesto, and behind the
Behind the
chimney?
chimney.
Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, they're talking about doing signs this weekend. If anybody wants to be involved, you could call Katie and coordinate with them.
I
I'm out
told,
of out of town this weekend.
I emailed Hunter and asked him to let me know when he was gonna be,
Okay.
doing that. And, I just did that, last night, so I haven't heard from him yet.
What was the 4th one? You said 3 out of 4 have been marked.
Gates Hill has not been done yet.
Yeah, and he did come by, and we did get those stainless steel screws, and so actually I have an invoice for that I can bring. But I'll bring that to the next meeting, I'll send it over to him. How would that work, so you?
Well, that was like one of the questions later on for the paint that David Marsh bought, the herbicide that you've been talking about, and then the screws. Looks like we can talk about it later, but we need to clarify how we do that. Where we wanna go for that.
Well,
Yep.
you can do it, we can talk about it now.
Oh, we can talk about it now. Let's talk about it now.
Well, it's related to the
Well-
Hunters project, so.
The expense has basically $248 in it. We could clean that out because that's just a source. We have to
I
go
would just
through
say that
another
as it is.
part. What?
Sorry, go ahead.
To go to the Hubbardston Trust, then we need to ask Parks and Rec, but they've never turned us down, and if it's a legitimate thing, which it certainly is, I don't see that they would. And Ryder is exclusively for Mount Jeff, but if the screws were exclusively for Mount Jeff, I guess technically we could take, no, but we wanna try to get so that Ryder can be built up again. You know, it was the concept was to use it for matching things, use it and then replenish it, so we haven't quite done that. So where would we go? Where shall we go for that money?
Community preservation.
You think for all three, for David, to reimburse David for the paint that he dropped off to Hunter?
Go to which, would you say, Mike?
Hubbardson Trust.
Hubbardston Trust.
And this is a silly question, how do we handle the tax? Does everybody have a tax number? Because what's the best way to do that? Do you just eat it yourself? Because the town will not pay tax and should not pay tax. Usually it's not that much unless it's gigantic.
Yeah, for these
percentage.
things, it's not that much.
Yeah.
Okay, so just get me an invoice, either send it
Okay.
along or stick it in the mailbox. And I'll contact David Marsh since he can't be here tonight. So it was nice of him to drop the paint off to Hunter so that could get done.
Okay. Land, priority subcommittee, we did use the tool as a test on that, one, property that was a right of first refusal and had pretty consistent results. We will, get going, I'd like to really start looking at some other properties, and we'll, get you involved with that too, Mike, 'cause you wanted to be part of that.
Yes, thank you.
So I think we should be starting on that, probably this upcoming month. The, open space plan subcommittee, did any start on that or news on that?
Barely started, and then I got sidetracked. I
Yep.
need to return
I'm
return
used
to
to
it.
that with us, but I have that happen often to me.
I did, I was able to track down a alternate document for the, I haven't told you this yet, Rick. I talked to Tim the other day, but, I found a document that lists the actual questions that were asked and the actual answers that were being chosen from in the last survey.
Oh, okay.
The master plan survey. There were several questions that were relevant to open space type issues.
Mm-hmm.
But the presentation that they provided on it, you couldn't really, the descriptions were truncated. So you
Okay.
couldn't really tell what people were answering
Okay.
or being asked. But anyway, I did find out. So we've got results from the last
Cool.
survey that was done last June, I think. And we'll decide whether, to what degree that's useful to us, whether we need to crank up a new one
Okay.
for the open space.
Okay, so you're
plan.
gonna discuss whether you're gonna do another survey or not.
Right.
Yep, yep. Okay, that's good. Malone Road, ARPA status?
$16,000, $100, was approved by the select board. So the question is, now what?
Yeah, but now that we have a good chunk
Uh,
of change there, it's not enough to do the project, but it's a good chunk of change.
Precisely. So we can't make any decisions on it for another month or so. Heather Monroe did wind up putting in a mass disability
Yeah.
grant
She
application.
was working on that.
She put in a what? My hearing is off relative to the,
She did apply for the grant that she was talking about from the disability office.
oh, okay,
at the-
ADA type grant?
Yeah. And she used the $16,000 as bait for that, as seed money for that grant.
Oh,
So those decisions come out in early December-ish.
Okay,
I'll be pretty astounded if something comes back from that, but at any rate, we can't commit those
Okay.
funds to anything until we find out what happens with that grant.
what's that, is that a matching grant like, Mass Trails?
No, not necessarily.
I
But-
forget exactly how
I
that
don't-
works.
They don't require matching, but, you know, using it for leverage, you know, we're willing to put something in, might help their thought process.
Mm-hmm.
I was told by the people there when I contacted them that the kind of thing we were talking about wasn't something that they funded, that they would do
Mm.
facilities. But, it can't hurt to try, and
Yeah, and at any rate, she did, so we need to wait and find out
When
if
is
anything,
a decision on that?
early December.
And that would in turn, so what's the next step, if that doesn't go through,
Right,
is
so
Mass
let's,
Trails?
yeah, so let's assume that nothing comes back from that, which I am certainly assuming. One other option is to use it as matching money for a Mass Trails grant.
Hmm.
That's due February 1st,
Mhm.
applications.
So that's not too bad timing wise, then, that gives 2 months.
It's
to-
doable.
Yeah,
It's
that's,
definitely
2 months
doable.
is doable for a Mass Trails grant, yeah.
So that's one option. The other option I was thinking about was the LWCF grant program is for larger projects.
What's that stand for?
Land and Water Conservation
Okay,
Fund,
Right,
or something
that's what it
close.
is.
WCF.
Yeah.
It's a federal program that gets distributed down to the states, and then the state turns around and runs a grant program. The minimum size grant is 400K.
be a hell of a trail, wouldn't it?
Well,
Depends on who you hire.
yeah.
Conestoga wagons?
Exactly.
That's
I mean,
what they-
I was thinking that maybe we should think bigger, and the parks had an update to the little path that goes around Curtis Field,
Yep.
into ARPA. I don't believe that was funded anything through ARPA, or if it got anything, it was
They got something.
something.
I
We got the
think it was very
16-1,
little.
and then some of the other finalists, it was gonna be divided on a prorated, and I'm
Oh,
thinking, how
that's
could they
right.
prorate that? And
Yeah.
so there was about $97,000 and minus 16-1, and then is the rest.
Right.
So
Um,
I'm guessing around,
So they came up short on their application as well.
But they were also waiting to see whether Ann Goby's earmark thing for the roof on the
It's
Public
still-
Works Department or that.
I think that got, I don't think that was real in the end. But anyway, if we sort of did a combined, rolled both of those items, Malone and Curtis Field, into a professionally designed and constructed trail at both locations, that puts you at 400.
Yeah.
one in town and one in the forest and
Yeah.
meadow. I mean, that would be fantastic. And working together would be really nice, instead of, cause I'm guessing they'll come to CPC and there's not all that much money left these days, but enough, well, we'll see, that's a whole nother issue. But that's gonna happen probably early January. So, that would be exciting.
Like
So
the
that's,
thought.
so, yeah, I mean, I haven't pursued it much further than what I just said.
But that's the least is 400,000, is that what you said?
Yeah.
That's what I thought you said.
What was
It's for big land purchases and large park projects and,
we could buy some land to build a trail. I'm serious.
well, yeah.
I mean, if we need to come up
What's
to
our next
400,000.
parcel, folks?
Maybe,
Come on.
maybe that would tie into, the land prioritization
Yeah.
thing
Selfridge.
there, and, huh?
Selfridge. I thought
Sure.
it sold.
Yeah.
I look at it occasionally, it's not again.
Uh-huh.
It is a
And-
nice
and-
little parcel.
And as a matter of fact,
Oh no, what?
I mean, the question keeps coming up every year, pretty much, from Cali DeVico.
Oh, she would love to sell.
is this buildable?
She asked for a variance once and was denied, or no, she went to the zoning board of
Yeah,
appeals.
well, I mean, the question keeps coming in.
Yeah.
And shortly after I started, I did the full research. And Joyce Green had done research previously. The section of road that goes through her lot was part of the original Selfridge Lane back in the late 1700s. In 1890, there was an official vote of the town to discontinue it. That is not a town road. And I also verified that the vote at town meeting to discontinue it referenced that, yeah, this section of road over the land of Moses Bennett is being discontinued. I went back to the deeds. I confirmed that her parcel is Moses Bennett land.
Oh, that's interesting.
What's that?
That lot is not buildable unless you put through like a subdivision road.
So it needs to be conservation land,
So
doesn't it?
Well, so it's not worth as much.
My-
Is the point I was eventually getting to.
Right.
I've been wanting
So
to
who
buy that
owns,
parcel for about
if
5
the
years.
town-
Play it Powerball.
Doesn't own it, who owns
Yeah, that's
Selfridge Lane?
that's a good question. I don't know when a town I assume when a town discontinues a road, that it, especially in that case where it was all contained within a private property, it just reverts to the property owner on each side.
Yeah, but, and the property owner on the north side of the road is not the same as now as the property owner then. Do you know if,
She owns both sides of the road.
oh, she does?
Does that go through to flags somehow?
I haven't actually walked it, but yeah, I believe
Yeah,
it
does,
does.
right?
Steph and
We-
Steph
Oh,
and I
that
have
makes
written
it
it.
even
Goes all the
nicer.
way to the campground. So
Isn't
close to
that
really
interesting?
So that was a total aside. But anyway, back to trails. So those were my thoughts. At our December meeting, maybe we'll have an indication at that point on the ADA grant.
Okay.
And at that point, the LWCF application isn't due until, I think, April 1st, something in that vicinity. But if we wanna chase a Mass Trails grant, then we'll have to make that decision at the next meeting and get moving.
Mm-hmm.
Another,
Here's an interesting thing, you could do, the LWCF, how does that one work?
I don't.
You said you didn't think it was a
I don't think
matching
it's
grant.
matching. I have to look into it further.
Well, if it is also potentially for land acquisition relative to the comment I made about, doing some land prioritization stuff, maybe we go for Mass Trails on Malone Road, and then potentially the LWCF or possibly land acquisition maybe.
Yeah. It won't take long to find out
Okay.
exactly how that grant's structured. I'll send an email around and
That's
let you know.
interesting. Any correlation between the LWCS and what was the other major, Forest Legacy?
Separate programs.
What?
Those are separate programs.
Yeah. And is Forest Legacy still active?
Not at the moment,
Okay.
but
What were you gonna say?
you know differently?
I don't know, I hadn't heard that they had stopped
All right, well,
I think the Forest Legacy program at the federal level still exists, but there was it was actually before you came to town. There was a quite large Forest Legacy project, regional project.
oh,
that.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That funded land from Quabbin to Mount Wachusett.
Yep.
Yeah,
And all
Yep.
kinds of parcels in between. That's done.
yeah,
And I'd
yeah.
heard that something else was possibly coming down the pike, but I haven't heard anything else at the moment.
Bob, another parcel acquisition that might be tied into the trails if we combine the path around Curtis Field would be that parcel on the east side of Curtis Field that the town was offered.
Oh, right.
it'd be kinda nice to know about that before redoing the path around Curtis Field, because you might want the path to go around the outside of that new piece as well.
Yeah, where does that go, out to, High Street and
I think
around
it-
and
yeah.
back?
Yes.
Yeah, some
Yeah,
people
that's the
were
one that
talking about
somebody-
Parking lot.
doing a parking lot there, but there's no reason to do a parking lot there. You could still acquire the land and use it for recreation without having any
Yeah.
access to
What is the
That's a
town.
good
status
idea.
of that at this point? Is it still for sale? Nobody knows.
What's that, that's a pretty small parcel, what is it?
4 acres, I
It's,
think.
it is
4
4
acres.
acres?
Does that sound right, guys?
Could be one of those little fitness trails.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you know, Mike, do you know, was that Dolores Ordway's property?
Dolores, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
well, I did attend the meeting when they had a hearing about it, or it was on the agenda for the select board. And it was, when I say controversial at best, the whole High Street came out for it and did not really even care to hear the topic really discussed. You know, the select board put it on the agenda because they had to, you know, there was an offer and they needed to, address it, and they just talked about ideas, and High Street was not interested
Yeah.
in the ideas.
Yeah.
And it was because of the parking lot.
Dolores Ordway came into the planning board the other night, inquiring about, her daughter lives on the opposite side of High Street, I guess, right now. And they were talking about, you know, how they might be able to build a house on that 4 acre lot, so it's clearly not up for sale at the moment.
Oh, okay, that's the status of that. But that was an interesting idea. It was, it's contiguous, it's right there, so.
yeah.
And that would affect the plans, so if they go ahead with that, oh well, you can't. Crystal ball, we need one.
Well, I had suggested the idea that they not use it for the parking lot or have any access to High Street, to the Parks and Rec and somebody from the select board. Or at least to, town.
All right.
Yeah, there were other ways to do that, it didn't have to.
Anything else on that? That we sort of digressed off of just the plain opera thing, but all related, topics there. Invasive treatment?
Yeah, Malone's all basal sprayed, ready for mowing.
Ready for mowing.
Hint,
Now, what,
hint.
how much of an area did you do there? Cause that, you know, if you're right straight ahead coming out of the parking lot, there's a bunch of stuff. Did that get touched at all? Or? You know, down close to the woods, you know, so you come in, you get your pine trees and the bench, there's a lot of growth down in there.
I did everything on the inside of the walking path
Okay,
on the small field.
to the right then. You go down the walking path, all the stuff to the right?
The path goes around the perimeter of the small field.
Depends which way you're going.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you're right,
He
if you
said
head
the
down,
inside of it, so, right?
it's the middle.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
inside would be the middle.
And your right side would be going.
Yeah, okay, so
Yeah.
all the stuff to the left of the walking path then, because there's quite a bit there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Like on the pine tree.
I think we're failing to communicate.
This one
Yeah.
here.
There is a failure to
yeah.
communicate.
And you can see the 2 pine trees on there.
He's talking about the stuff over where you planted on that side.
Oh,
Is-
yeah.
There was growth right close to the trail, I
This is
think
the
that's
Malone
what he's
big
describing.
hayfield. I did this whole
Right by
field
the pine
here.
trees, right after
Yeah.
the pine trees,
Okay,
Yeah.
that's the,
It is pretty thick in there.
okay,
never
so
got
that
into
goes
the weed
all
whacker,
around
wanted
that
to do-
whole open area,
There's too much
out
else
past,
going on.
where the wildflower garden is and stuff like that?
Yeah, I didn't do too much around the I went right through the wildflower garden, sprayed all that down. Looks great.
Notice not a
All that
reaction.
broadleaf stuff.
You're gonna expand the parking lot?
I didn't do too much through there. That's a little dense. It's too dense for this
Mowing.
type of
Where's
treatment
that?
at this point.
oh,
Around the old foundation.
Okay, yeah, and I guess that's where I was, now.
I'd like to take another pass with a brush hog before I try and treat that.
Okay,
Yeah, I did that a couple years ago.
It
We-
was
yeah, we never
quite-
got
it
in
was
and
like
really-
3, I think.
The poor thing was sort
I
of
think it was 3 years ago.
neglected this year.
Mm.
Oh, that's good.
okay, so here's the,
I'd like to
Spring
get
of
over the weed whacker
2020.
and at least do the perimeter.
yeah, so here's what I was talking
You know how
about
to work it.
in the
I do.
confusion map.
I do know, I
This-
do know how to do the
This
spring
stuff
now.
all in here, so that's
I
the
can help with
parking
that. I don't
circle,
know
It's
Right.
right?
much
Weed whacker, but
easier
I can
because
use yours.
redoing the
there's
string
a
thing
lot
on
of
the old
growth.
one was,
This area, isn't there?
Oh,
you
yeah.
just measure
you're
it,
looking
stick
at,
it in, press the button, and it goes.
The road comes up, there's the big hayfield, is this the parking
Yeah,
area right
it's
up
a-
there with that circle?
That's,
brick.
that's,
Is that
Adobe,
battery
maybe?
powered?
what's his name?
What?
Bob,
Is it a battery powered?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
Cataldo?
and it's
Not Bob
14
Cataldo.
pounds.
Joe
'cause
Cataldo.
the
Joe
other one's
Cataldo,
too heavy.
that's Joe
Yeah.
Cataldo's lot.
And this one, it's still.
And you don't have to pull the starter.
Oh,
Yeah.
here's
I'll
the-
use that for you.
Here's Malone down
Oh,
there.
just
Here's
there's
the
two things you have to
hayfield.
do, you have to,
Yeah.
yeah. I haven't used it since.
This is,
Safety
this is what you
triggers
did
usually.
here.
I
Yes,
have to do
And
the
I guess
brick
what I
block.
was
If we
talking
don't do the
about
brick
was
block
this stuff
now,
over
by
here.
yeah.
springtime,
I did
there's no brick block.
some in there, but it was
That's what
tough.
you're
It
talking
was
about,
tough going.
really dense.
It
in
was
there.
tough going.
Yeah, so what's your recommendation for that, so that doesn't start coming in? Should we mow as much as we can
Brush
there?
hog it as best you can, and then when it starts sprouting in the spring, I'll hit it.
Okay, so we should go in there as much as we can go in there with the
Carefully
machines.
around the garden.
Turn Steph and Rick loose and they'll go crazy in there.
I'll let Rick do that section.
I'm gonna put up some rebar, that'll.
And
Well,
Tim's been playing as
Your
well.
mower is a finish mower, right?
Oh, you
No,
know, we got a
no,
brush
it's a
hog.
heavy duty brush hog.
You got the
Oh, yeah, I can hit
thing
rock.
that,
He does hit rocks.
yeah,
What did you say about Tim?
When she's up, when it's like wham bam.
I can hear.
Tim, let's hear what you've been up to.
So, on the Malone Road parcel north of Malone Road, in the back of the field that Lance Lane mows, on the east side of the field, I started cutting bittersweet vines and treating the cut stems with triclopyr.
oh, you did?
Yeah, there, I only did 1/4 of an acre, in between the two fields. It's really slow going. Deb offered to, come out and help me, so if one person's cutting and the other person's treating the
Dabbing
cut
or
stems,
whatever.
dabbing with the herbicide, you don't lose track of where you are and what you've already done quite so much. And Mark had offered to come out and do some with me too, but I'm gonna see if Deb and I can get a little further first. So we started trying to do that. I guess it's not too late dormancy wise with the, I couldn't find anything about not doing it. when
Yeah,
it's
no,
dormant.
I mean, I haven't tried it as late as December, but supposedly you can, I mean, I would think it works better when stuff is still moving down towards the roots,
Hmm,
but I have seen people say that you can do it year-round.
yep.
So that means then, did you invest quite a bit in that, what?
No, I just bought a small, quart.
Well, do you think, I mean, it's up to you. We can add you to the list, is what
Yeah.
I'm saying. So why don't you, everybody
See if I
just
can find
get me the
receipt.
slips. It'd be nice if I could do them all at once, but,
Yep.
you know, so. Okay, ASAP then, and that's up to you. You know where to find me.
So that's, so anyway, so relative to mowing, we'll just, Rick, Steph and I will just coordinate when we get up there.
Oh, and this, along those lines, last year Lance mowed, after he was all done haying, he came back later in the fall. And he did some mowing around the edges of some of the fields, and he mowed some of that area it's not even the edge of the field, it looks like it was a field that was mowable 10 or 20 years ago on the east side of Mount Jefferson, and east of the fields that he does mow. Here, I'll show you where it is. And I don't know whether he's gonna come
confused.
back
It's
this
kind
year.
of
I
parallel
wish
with
Dave
New
was here.
Templeton Road then.
So-
That's the east
This,
side.
this
He's-
little patch in
he's-
here,
He's, Standing at
here's
the Mount Jeff picnic table,
Malone
looking
Road.
out across
Yeah.
the road.
Oh, Mount
And
Jeff.
here's,
Oh,
yeah, here's
nice.
the Mount Jeff, the
Yep,
Gates farmhouse.
yep,
So looking east across, down across that field, there's this little
yeah,
pocket.
yeah,
field.
we've talked about that in the past. And so he mowed here, is that what you're
He
saying?
did last year and it could use it again.
Brush hog,
Bush, yeah,
brush hog, did-
bush hog.
brush hog.
All right, so relative to the stuff that you did, and you said you did which, the east side of the hayfield area?
Same general area.
Yeah.
Right, Tim?
Yeah,
Right along the trail?
wall.
no, not,
So here's the
right,
east.
right here.
Oh, I thought you said Malone Road.
Well, north of Malone Road.
Oh, well, off of Mount Jeff.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you're up at the Mount Jeff area, not down in the Malone
Yeah.
Road area, okay.
Right.
So you were working up here?
Yep.
Okay. I did see and talk to Lance a little bit the other day, tapped on his leg.
Is he driving again?
Yeah, he was working a tractor.
Well, he was working a tractor with one leg.
Huh?
In the summer, he was working a tractor with one leg.
Oh.
I don't think he could stop.
Well, no, he had his prosthesis on, yeah, so.
He did good, good.
Wow.
I haven't seen him since he got it.
All right. Just relative to what you were doing up there, are you suggesting we should try and get that brush hogged again, or should?
It would be great if we can.
Okay. All right.
Isn't that part of the hay plan somewhere along the line, right?
Yes.
That he's supposed to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because by the time you guys finish Malone, I can help too, you know, I can drive the tractor. Are you gonna bring ours over, right?
Yeah, then you
Alright,
can make sure we
next.
don't brush hog your flowers.
Next topic, here we go.
Okay.
Any update on Red Oak?
No.
Let sleeping dogs lie,
Yeah.
I mean, because we
Well,
have to.
Yeah, I'm just gonna check in periodically and see how many lots have sold over there. This is what that's what you're asking about, right?
Yeah.
On
Yeah.
French Road? Yeah. They've still only sold the first lot.
Okay.
It's being built upon, there's actually
How
something
far
going on,
from,
right?
Well, there's 9 that are being built.
Right, but isn't there one in process already?
Yeah,
Yes.
one's all framed and roofed.
Right, right.
I haven't looked on a map, how, relative to trail location, I know we've ridden it, since it's been sold. And I've looked out there, you can't see from the trail out to where the, whereabouts, location-wise from the property out on the street to the trail to the back of the property, how close to the back of the property is the trail?
It's about 2/3, 3/4 the way back.
So they, if it's that far back, they may be amenable to a easement or something?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely worth the conversation
Yep.
once we have a buyer.
Okay. Next topic, right of first refusal, there's been a lot of email traffic, et cetera, about that right of first the right of first refusal on Ragged Hill.
Select board said no, so we're done.
Yeah, well, tonight I wanted to talk about our process by which we got it
Yeah,
done.
yeah,
Because right of first refusal is a special instance of potential land acquisition. I mean, there's the general prioritization that you've been chasing for long times. Of trying to figure out where land is that we might be interested in.
yep,
Right of first refusal when it comes in, that's a short fuse. I mean, that is a full-on fire drill to try and acquire land in that manner. Technically, we have 120 days after notification
4 months.
to make a decision on a right of first refusal. But in practice, if you don't make a decision, the problem is that the town doesn't have a piggy bank sitting out there, we're just waiting to be busted open to fund a land acquisition like this. If you don't make your decision in probably the first 2 to 4 weeks after that notice comes in, the game's basically over.
2 to 4 weeks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're never gonna be able to pull it together to, let me give you, for instance. You guys were all involved in Lombard Road, Fieldstone Farm. Imagine compressing that into a 6-week period.
Yeah.
That's what's gotta happen.
That's what would have to happen in order to acquire it.
Yeah.
So basically what you're saying is there
So
needs to be a
so
contingency fund.
So what well, yeah, that would be nice, but no, that's not what I'm saying.
Didn't you buy Powerball tickets?
Yeah,
Yeah,
there you go.
that's a contingency
What
plan.
I am saying is that we have to be ready to move very fast. And in fact, we did, when this request came in. It was gonna work out. We had a meeting coming up, but then we had to cancel it because you weren't available.
Yep.
So the way this evaluation wound up getting done was in subcommittee. You guys that worked on the scoring sheet
Yep.
basically made it happen, which I think was perfectly reasonable under the circumstances.
Yep.
But the question now is, how do we want to deal with this in the future? There are we could choose to do it the same way. There are some valid reasons for wanting to address it in open meeting. Number one, that allows us to involve the full board. I mean, basically, Todd wasn't involved in this, Dave wasn't involved in it. Steph and Susan weren't officially involved in it.
Yep.
And if we wanna involve the full committee, then we need to call a meeting.
Yep.
And because of the time constraints, we would probably have to be prepared to call a special meeting, not wait for the next scheduled
Well,
meeting.
Yeah.
Here's a thought that I think lines up with what you're talking about. We already know what lands are in Chapter 61. And relative to the land prioritization aspect of things, which we could involve the whole committee as we go through this, we can identify the Chapter 61s. Why couldn't we try and be ahead of the game and already do assessments on those ahead of time?
That would be possible, there's a bunch of them. But
Well, I mean, but
It
that's,
has a finite list.
from my perspective, I think that's, intuitively, you can just look what's out there and say, okay, certain chunks of land, I don't know, I'll take the ones that I'm quite familiar with, up near Root Road and that are adjacent to the state forest, et cetera, et cetera. We already know there are big properties, and could be potentially direct connectivity to the state forest here and expanding a big area, so
Yeah.
some just intuitively you look at it and say, it's probably a pretty nice parcel to go after.
yeah,
So we could take a look at the Chapter 61s and say, okay, this one's here, 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 and here. And you could look at the map and say, oh, well, obviously these ones where they're relative to their location, let's do an assessment of those first. Not that we're not gonna forget the other ones, but just go through in some sort of logical manner to say, all right, let's get those evaluated.
yeah,
I don't know,
yeah,
that's-
that might well make
I
sense.
mean, that's what I think we ought to do as we
Yeah,
go
I agree.
forward.
I mean, the other advantage to that is that it gives you the trying to line up financing packages for this is one of the best, or one of the most likely options is working with one of the land trusts.
Yeah, yeah.
And they've got the same issues that we do with trying to mobilize on a fire drill.
Yeah.
So if if there have been conversations preceding the actual notification, that puts you well ahead of the game.
Yeah.
But let me finish one other point on how, whether or not we do evaluations in open meeting. Another consideration would be whether we wanna bring in public comment on this whole process.
Mm-hmm.
Public comment.
Mike?
Mike Stahl, 5 Lombard Road. I definitely would appreciate the opportunity to be involved in the evaluation and the criteria used, and Mark alluded to at least one criterion that would make sense to me, is involve the land trusts. And my question is, did we contact the land trust, any of the land trusts that may be interested? Another point is, even though I think the criteria includes an item for, is there something adjacent to it? Well, if you look at certain properties, there may be close proximity to property that trails could be connected or were good wildlife corridors. And so I think a more comprehensive and broader view in the process, and the fact that we have so much Chapter 61 land in Hubbardston, that I think it is appropriate that the community, the public, would have the opportunity. So one of my strongest points is that I don't think the public in general had an opportunity. I watch the agendas for most meetings, committees and boards, and I saw it and I said, oh, okay, I'll go to that select board meeting. And I believe that there was a procedural issue, and the public, myself, was not allowed to comment on the motion. There's supposed to be, on an agenda item, there's supposed to be an introduction of an item, some background on it, then they move, if a motion is made, after the motion was made, I requested to be acknowledged, and I was not allowed to comment on that motion addressing this issue. So I'm really interested in the process overall, and so I appreciate, Mark, your background just now, and I would be a strong proponent that it broadens. It's not just the environmental issues that are factors, so to speak. I know there's other criteria that are also in your spreadsheet, but that it expands to a more, almost the administrative process, and looks beyond, I'll call them the environmental items, and the administrative process, the financial impact. I've been involved in financing large projects, and you sometimes, and it doesn't happen every time, but you have one project fall through, and all of a sudden you gotta find a place quick to go with that money. And if a land trust that came up, they may be a potential source of financing, so that maybe there's an opportunity there that we might miss. And I'd hate to see us miss an opportunity, because the Open Space Committee mentioned that the survey, 84% rural character. Well, by that land, it was the survey, Mark, I saw that the Open Space Committee referenced. 72% open space, low taxes. So all of those, none of the Ragged Hill Part 2 parcels, none of those 3 items. Oh, and the next one was 27, almost 28% recreational opportunities. And so your recommendation to the board, and I didn't read your recommendation. I will try and get a copy of that recommendation to the board, to the select board, to see what the basis of the recommendation was.
I'll send it to you.
Okay, thank you. I meant to requested sooner, but.
I meant to send it there.
So I guess to sum it up, I'm more interested in the process, and I thought it was rushed through, even though the bigger aspect is that, well, we'd never be able to realistically do it in the 120 days, but we have 120 days to evaluate it.
No, we don't.
To evaluate, no? Well,
I mean, yes, we do legally.
oh, okay. Oh, that's, I was gonna say, and, you know,
Well, yeah,
and this gets back to the process, is that we could have had a public meeting, it could have been on an agenda, and none of those things occurred.
Right.
Until it was too late and the public wasn't allowed the opportunity, or specifically Mike Stahl wasn't allowed the opportunity to comment on the motion. I did comment previously, but no motion had been made. They were just talking about background issues.
Yeah.
And I filled in a couple of facts that they weren't aware of. So, that's my piece. Thank you.
Good.
There's a little venting there, but I appreciate
That's
you
good.
listening.
No, that's good. We appreciate the,
So
The
by the time
interest.
we heard about it, how far into it were we? What was the town? In other words?
I knew it the day it came in.
And it showed up on
And
a
that's when it got distributed out to you
Yep.
guys.
yep,
I'm sorry, Mike Stahl, 5 Lombard Road. The select board had it on their agenda as a kind of a last minute item, you know, it didn't fall in the regular, things not, I forget. But anyhow, the point was is that it had not been, you know, previously brought up or anything. And at that meeting, they went and acted upon it.
Right.
So that seemed a little bit, if I say rushed, there could have been more time used. And that could have been fair to all parties, all stakeholders involved.
Yeah. You know, like as I've indicated, there wasn't a lot more time to deal with, but yes. I mean, well, that's sort of what I was putting out on the table.
yep,
Are we prepared to call a special meeting
yep,
to,
yep,
and would it be useful
yep.
to receive public input during the evaluation process, or do we just approach the evaluation as a more technical exercise? And then, you know, obviously there's going to be plenty of public involvement if the town starts pursuing the project. Do we feel it's important to get that input right up front or not?
It's probably good to think about, if we didn't have this new matrix tool, what would we have done? We probably would have had a special meeting and talked about it, right?
Yeah. Well,
So-
I don't know.
Well, and in conjunction with utilizing the tools and getting quite a bit of properties assessed, that's an important relative piece of information. Because you get a score on one piece of property, but is that, how does that rank high, low, or medium relative to other potential opportunities? So relative to my comment about we need to get a number of these done, say, well, that's number 30 in our ranking, and so let's not put a lot of effort into that, because if this other one comes up that's number 1 in the ranking, you know, then you're putting a lot of resources towards something, and that's not one of your top targets. So
Yes, and the process we use to rank something as number 1 or number 30 should only be part of the overall process, right? So we can come up with something and we have a parcel that's ranked number 30, but there probably should be, in addition to that ranking process, there should be an overall look at it along the lines that Mike was talking about.
to get the public involved.
Well, yeah,
Well, brief narrative then, to say something special about it that might not show up. in
Well,
another-
an opportunity to hear
Yeah.
what might be in that
Well,
narrative.
yeah, I think that, and Mark alluded to that too. You
Yeah.
know, to what extent are you gonna bring in, so we as or a committee, go through and do, let's say we do 30, 40, 50 things, then do we wanna engage, the public and say, this is,
No, I don't know about that. 'Cause we're talking about property that is not up for sale necessarily.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the time to get the public involved is, we've got a list of prioritized
Yep.
parcels of land.
Yep.
We know what they are. We've prioritized them. One of them pops up on the radar. That's the time we have a meeting, we can present what we think based on our criteria
Mhm.
to whoever wants to come and listen and get their input.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be a good place to put some effort into. Because in conjunction with this, even if it's a small group, we're not gonna bring everything to the outside world, but once we go through a ranking, that's also a time where we could start to get land trusts involved, that this is 61
Yeah.
things.
Right.
So start planting some seeds with the land trusts,
Right.
because you do have such a short fuse once it does come up. You don't wanna start going off the land trusts, they ground zero.
Mhm.
So, okay, all right. So I think this land prioritization thing is relatively important, not relative. To me personally, it's a very important thing to keep going on.
Well, I mean, this is a time of year or two, and we're not gonna be doing that much trail maintenance this winter.
Yep.
You know, unless a big tree
Yep.
falls across something,
Yep.
so now's
Okay.
probably the time to start
We
working
get a
on
lot of
that.
snow.
All right,
Well, Mark will be
And,
busy.
and by the way, thanks for all your work on that form, Rick. I think that turned out really well.
Yeah.
Which we should distribute to the rest of the committee that hasn't seen it.
The what?
The write-up
The
on
what?
the parcel prioritization.
Hello,
Uh,
Mike.
Any other old business?
I thought everybody got a copy of what we recommended.
Did it go to the whole committee? Did you get one?
Don't remember.
I'll look
think
and
so.
see, if not, I'll
I
send
mean,
it to you.
after we've done the snoring, the trial
think,
snoring,
I think that's it for old business.
Under new business, actually, I have one that was partly old, so we already discussed it, the herbicide application.
Yeah, both these we've already talked
Oh,
about.
Mike
We
has
already
his
talked
hand up.
about Red Oak. Any other new business?
Yeah, Mike has his hand
I
up.
had a old business.
Oh, okay, Mike.
And this relates back to the chapter 61, first right of refusal. I'm gonna try and use an illustrative example. Your conversation kind of circled it, but let's say you have your number one parcel and your very last parcel, but your last parcel is access to your number one parcel. The likelihood of that happening is not great, but it is possible. And out there at Ragged Hill, there is that possibility with those parcels, because I
Mhm.
looked at that. I said, if the criteria had something for proximity and whatnot, maybe that makes sense. The other thing is, money shows up in strange ways. I'm not volunteering my money yet. However,
You
the fact
you
is,
got our attention.
well, depending on how things proceed, people are willing, the environmental movement is strong, and I'm a strong advocate. And I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is, given the right timing and the right opportunity.
Yep.
But if the process doesn't support, when I say careful consideration, in a way that the general public would be amenable to putting their money where their mouth is, it may not happen. But there's land grants and land donations all the time. And people, have money come to them in strange ways, and we can't assume that they would not be willing to maybe contribute to an effort of the town.
Good.
Thank you.
So at any rate, back to new business, any other new business?
We need to talk about December's date, because the last, the last Wednesday in December is 12/28, 3 days after Christmas, like, really? So, and then
Where are we?
the week before Christmas, really? And then maybe the week before that, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, but first of all, if you talk about a December thing, this is the very first part, this is sort of like an October thing,
Right.
so
Yeah.
we could talk about the last Wednesday in November. Yeah.
Wednesdays?
Well,
Give-
I would vote for
Early
doing
December.
something first week of December,
That sounds reasonable.
which is about a month from now.
You're right, it would be around
When?
Thanksgiving.
First week of December
Who has a
sometime.
calendar handy? Well, it's the first Wednesday. Are we going back to Wednesday then, or? This is Thursday, right? Today's Thursday.
Yeah.
Just checking.
Is
It might be
there
Tuesday, we
gonna
don't
be
know
a
yet.
continuing conflict on Wednesday, or is this just an anomaly? Yes.
First Tuesday and first Wednesday of the month is a conflict for me.
So Thursday then, right, work.
It's like, geez,
The
he's
first
gonna- he's
Thursday
gonna
in
be out
December is
every
what?
night of the week.
December
It's
first.
tonight's the trifecta. I did
It
Concom on
is.
Tuesday, planning board last night.
The first Thursday?
I was
Yeah.
thinking that, like, wow.
Yeah. Oh, I trust you. So he's saying December 1 then? That's a Thursday?
That's the
That would
first
be after
Thursday
the-
in December.
Okay, does that, it's not a Tuesday and it's not a Wednesday.
Do you want
How about like,
a week later?
yeah,
The 8th then?
Yeah.
Well,
Is
cause
that-
we may hear
The
something
first-
on the mod thing.
the first full week of December. How about Tuesday the 6th?
I thought Tuesdays were bad
Yeah,
for
you
you.
said Tuesday
He
and
said the
Wednesdays
first
don't
two.
work.
Oh,
that
fir-
is
it's
the
not
first
first
Tuesday.
Oh, that is the first Tuesday.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Good job.
Well, how about the 8th then?
So 12/8, which is a
Thursday.
Thursday.
Maybe,
16?
were we doing Tuesdays before? What was our normal day?
We were doing
Doing
Tuesdays,
Tuesdays.
but the problem was Bob got delinquent, but Bob can fix that. Because if I didn't get it in by Friday, by Thursday
By Thursday,
actually,
'cause
if I didn't get it in by Thursday, then it
Right,
didn't get
and then
in.
sometimes there's a
Yeah.
Monday
But
holiday.
I can
yada,
solve
yada.
it.
Put a
Some days-
reminder on his
Sometimes there's Monday
calendar.
holidays.
Yeah.
Well, you should also get it to me, because I can do it anytime. I don't work on the Monday to Thursday town schedule.
Oh, so you can post?
Ah, yes.
I have full control on the website.
You are
Which is
looking
starting to
at.
look much nicer, by the way, I noticed.
So Thanksgiving must be like the 24th.
Yes,
So the week
How
after.
about Tuesday the 29th?
29th is Tuesday after
I thought you wanted
Thanksgiving.
to do it in December.
Oh, 11/29, that's good.
I don't
close.
care. so-
That's fine.
Oh, you meant because of some other decisions that were being made, or no?
Oh, that's right, well.
Oh, we
yeah,
needed to
the,
wait, yeah.
We
Oh,
might
we
hear about the ADA grant.
Right.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, that's
that's
what
what I
Rick
was
was
saying.
just saying.
Try to kill two birds, so that
Cause
brings
if,
us
cause
back.
if that doesn't go through, which
Yeah, that's a long
don't-
shot.
I don't think it will, but you know,
You never know.
if it doesn't, then we gotta start working on
So the 8th.
Is the,
We're back to
Mass
the
Trail
8th.
Grant.
Yeah. Sounds-
Thursday, the 8th, is that where we're
The
landing?
meeting.
okay.
Sounds good to me.
12/8,
I move, we schedule our next meeting for December 8th, Thursday, the second Thursday of December.
does that
Second.
sound good?
Yeah. I don't
Okay.
know if we need a full motion.
Nobody seconded it.
Is that okay with everybody?
I seconded it.
Thursday the
We
8th?
did, Todd did.
All right, next meeting will be Thursday the 8th.
Oh, December.
December, oh, can you
I
imagine?
know.
And there's one more new business item.
Okay.
So, Mark, we needed to thank you for all the work you did for that Mass Trails grant and the signs. They are just wonderful.
Yeah,
We
there
get
are a
lots of
lot of
comments
people.
on them and stuff like that.
Yep.
So Susan and I took a spin up to Walpole,
Oh, my goodness.
New Hampshire,
I know what's there.
Oh,
As a prisoner.
and got you a little thank you.
are there
Is
mice
it a
coming?
mouse?
Yes, there are mice in this package.
A mouse or an elephant?
There's two dark dark chocolate, one milk chocolate, and one white chocolate. And they're very good, 'cause I got a set for us too.
Thank you very much.
So thank you.
Yeah,
Job well
we've
done.
heard a lot from a lot of people at.
Oh,
at
yeah,
the barn
it looks,
talking
it's
about going up there.
unobtrusive, but yet it's informational, and it's just, it looks like somebody, it's really
Yeah.
nice. So
You don't
thank
get
you.
up that way very often. Have you seen any of the new signage up on Mount Jeff and Hubbardston State Forest?
You had a full agenda, but I would have commented on that I was just there today, and
Ah.
there's a beautiful sign at the junction of red and blue, or the Dotties Trail. I mean, that is a hefty sign, and I couldn't vandalize it. I looked to see how that thing, I tried to figure out how they put it together. There's gotta be a special tool to that type of sign that,
It's a special piece.
okay.
I couldn't
Alright.
vandalize
There's
it.
you put it on with you're talking the silver connectors underneath.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a plate on a plate, and there's no, normally you wanna have a tool that'll fit on one side and or the other. And from the one side, it's flush. And how those two plates are mated, are they spot welded or something? No.
No.
It's a secret, he's not
secret.
gonna tell you.
I
It's
mean,
on
there's-
video,
you
yeah.
can't-
What
Yeah.
the lengths it sounds like.
The,
Mike.
the nut on it is a cone.
Mark, we may have to move to executive session.
No, it's such a good, hefty, durable, gonna be long-lasting sign that it definitely made an impression on me.
Pretty
Definitely.
neat.
And the other thing about the Malone Road is that this summer I did find one milkweed plant.
I saw a couple.
You did? Okay,
Yeah.
one. And there's none up in the wildflower area with the monarch butterfly.
There was one.
Okay,
Well, we
well,
have a whole bunch of them on the road.
Yeah.
I will take, I've got like
Yeah.
3 dozen milkweed plants and probably 75 pods at the house. So they're drying out now. I'll take some and I'll toss them around.
That would be
there.
fantastic.
The other thing that I noted there was your trail around, call it kind of the orchard. There's a few apple trees there. I don't know how you got the grass to grow like that. It's beautiful, solid green grass, mowed, and the plants don't encroach on the grass, and the grass isn't spreading out into the field.
Well, Public Works does that.
Yeah,
They mow that
DPW does that.
every week.
Yeah.
But, okay, so they did very well, it's a
Yeah.
nice trail, but the grass, did you see the grass? I mean, if people could get their lawn to grow like that,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's better than most lawns.
it was impressive, I'll tell you, but I don't like grass, cause it's not good for the wildlife, if you mow it. It's better to let it go to seed and whatnot, but, if you like your lawns, they got the program down there.
Let's see, I had, I just thought of one thing, relative to the riding that we had the ride up there and got my stuff in late, thanks to Mark, but what would people think about moving the Gates Hill Trail at the field to the high side of that field instead of the low side of that field?
Yes.
The low side is always mucky,
Yeah.
and the high
I
side.
love it. Thinking outside the box.
The high side is dry all the time.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and you could put it
Never occurred
actually,
to me.
most of it could be right underneath the trees.
Puts in the
If you
shade.
just go into
Yeah.
the trees, wouldn't even have to be into the field. Would that work any maps that we've got done, or?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
You just get a Sharpie.
Get a Sharpie.
It's been done before.
Oh my goodness. Put it
Perfect
under
time.
I
advisement.
mean, you also get a little, it's a nicer view, it's
Yeah, makes all kinds of sense.
Well,
it would salvage
If
a
you mow
nice
it and you
chip.
don't
There
mow
must be
lower,
30 to 40 feet from the field
the
to the
people would
stone
know.
wall in there
Right.
in a lot of places, but.
you could just not mow the other one and mow that and not worry
Yeah,
about
so
where it is on the
then-
map, or you could just add a trail around the,
Oh, I wouldn't
Oh,
try
so
to
have
maintain
both.
Yeah.
both, but,
and
You
it,
could mow
you
both
know,
of them.
if it's not on the map for a few years,
so
I
that's,
don't think
it's
that's a
not,
problem.
people aren't throwing rocks at that idea. I mean, I had thought of it before, probably 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago, when
Is it
Jassy was in charge,
schmucking
but
along?
somebody
Yeah,
didn't
'cause
like
it-
the idea or something.
Yeah, the horses just muck right into
So
it.
you're
Oh,
talking
it's
about
not good
like
for the
Carol
trail.
Olson on Jeff Road?
Yes.
Yes.
But it's
Yeah,
on the
getting
low
up
side
close,
of the
but then-
field,
then
it's
you'd
always
have-
wet.
It's actually, from my perspective, it's aesthetically a nicer route. I mean,
Yeah.
you're right in with the trees. You could just trim a lot of the branches. I mean, I took a serious look at it.
Uh-huh.
You could go in and trim a lot of the branches and make so it's almost like a wooded trail. Wouldn't even be out in the field.
Hmm.
So
That'd be nice.
I think the only negative aspect of it is you'd see the cars going by on Mount Jefferson Road.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, but Mount Jeff is not a busy road.
Yeah, and it gets you out of that wet area, which would be really good if you're on foot, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Well, and actually, there's really some of the riders, like a lot of the kids that ride at our barn, they like to ride quickly along that trail. And if you hit a wet spot, it's dangerous.
Yep.
So, all right. So we'll,
There aren't, there aren't even any trail markers along there,
No, they're not.
so.
That's
all right.
right.
There was just one at the end.
Well, there's a few trees hidden in the bittersweet that
Oh.
have blazes painted on them. You'll see them in the wintertime.
Hidden in
all
the
right.
bushes.
Yeah.
Then I'll
Find that beautiful stone
I'll-
wall.
do some more thinking on that then, since
Yeah,
this wasn't.
sounds like a project for next year.
Yeah, it'd be a
We'll
fun
be up there.
project.
We'll be up there working on the foundation up at Gates Hill anyway, so.
Yeah,
But if we got the DPW to mow that instead.
yeah, yeah.
Do they mow the low side right now?
I
Yeah,
think so, yeah.
Mm.
they'll probably like it better
They'll
too.
probably like it
Yeah,
better
they'll-
too.
Yeah.
The grass isn't as heavy and it won't be wet.
Yeah.
All right.
Move to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? Aye.
Okay.
Another
So
good
you guys
meeting,
went to
folks.